You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo.
What's up, friends? Brian Fanzo, iSocial Fans here. And, we are 3 months into the podcast and beyond excited about what's to come, some of the things that we are working on. Also excited to kind of continue to push the envelope and, really focus on evergreen content and also continuing the education, because really, let's face it, what we kind of knew 3 months ago is definitely changing, today. And I think that's kind of the beauty of this, ever evolving space. And it's really why, for me, this episode is one I was excited to kind of deliver, because I'm going to talk about the 3x3x3. And actually, at the very end, I'm going to give you a bonus 3 that really fits into the strategy around NFTs, around collaboration. Even one of my favorite gifts that I made for my profile photo was actually blending 3 of my favorite NFT projects together with Crypto Dads, Bubblegum Kids, and Secret Superlative Society. So we're going to get into this kind of breakdown of the 3x3 strategy. But remember, it's really important to not only do your own research, but find things that make sense to you. So I'm going to explain to you the 3-3-3 different aspects. And it's actually using the rule of 3 in 3 different ways, actually probably a 4th way. But think about that in your strategy and your world. So it's less about taking my exact strategy and more about figuring out what makes the most sense for you. And so the first 3 that we're going to talk about is the 3 wallet strategy, right? And so for me, security is the main focus here. And it's also a little bit about mental health and mindset. And so funny enough, for me, having 3 wallets, one of the reasons that it's valuable is that it mitigates a single point of failure, which means if I get hacked, if someone, gets a hold of my wallet, they don't get everything I own, right? And it's really 3 NFT wallets and a 4th cryptocurrency wallet, right? It's kind of the setup that we have here. And I'm going to kind of break down the reasoning for that, but it's also because when I open up certain wallets, I want to be able to kind of view what I have. And sometimes when you have everything in one wallet, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Even if it's only 5 or 6 NFTs, if 3 of them you're going to hold forever, and then 3 of them you're looking to kind of, hopefully find the right, ride the momentum and get rid of, kind of seeing all of them, the trends of all of them together can get a little bit much. So for me, I really break it down to 3 different types of wallets. One, which we consider a minting wallet or a burner wallet, which is the wallet that I'm going to connect to most websites. If I'm going to buy an NFT, if someone wants to do a giveaway, I'm going to use this wallet. And that's one that, kind of works well for that. And then a second one is what is my HODL wallet, or my holding wallet, where, hey, I love these NFTs, but there's probably a good likelihood I'm going to put them for sale, or I'm going to use them, maybe I'm going to give them away. That wallet is kind of my intermediate wallet. And then, of course, my 3rd wallet, which is more like the diamond hand wallet, or we could even refer to it as that's my cold wallet, right? That's the Ledger Nano X that I use. And it's not, fully connected to the internet. It's the ones that are worth the most, but also the ones that I know that I'm never going to get rid of are in that wallet. Now, this might sound a little bit even more overwhelming, because you're like, wait a second, Brian, does that mean I need 3 computers or 3 devices? Well, if you had 3 devices, that would probably help in this kind of scenario. Even, an iPhone and an iPad, even though the some of the wallets aren't made UI wise for your iPad, they can still be used for your iPad. But the way that I actually do it was I actually created my 3 wallets with 3 different browsers. So one in Chrome, one in Brave, and then one in my Firefox browser. I will say the one that in the Firefox browser, I removed that from the browser now, and that one actually really only exists on my iPad. But that's one of the big differences here, and I got this question a lot, and I'm gonna have a couple more episodes real soon on more of the security components here. But if I say 3 wallets, it doesn't mean 3 accounts in one wallet. And so what I mean by that is I have 3 seed phrases for 3 different wallets that I'm using in this use case, and even a 4th one for the cryptocurrency one that I'm using. Now, that sounds like it might be a little much. And so maybe for a lot of people, I would say if your collection is under, $20,000-$30,000 worth of NFTs. Maybe it's just a 2-wallet system, right? One that you might connect to websites a little bit more liberal with using it, like not having to like overly concern every time you click on it. And then one that you keep that has most of your NFTs in it. Like maybe that's the 2-wallet system in there. But really, I want you to think about that in like just what makes the most sense for you. I'm a big believer in not using security for security's sake and not just doing this just because. So like my setup right now is I have my minting wallet in my Chrome browser. I have my holding wallet or my HODL wallet on my Brave browser. And then I use my Ledger Nano X browser, which is connected to my iPad. That wallet is kind of like that diamond handing wallet. So that's the first of the 3x3x3. The second in the 3x3x3 is minting or buying 3 NFTs at once. Now, just like kind of the last 3x, this actually is for 2 reasons. The first one is from a strategic approach to our NFTs and like what is the way that we kind of look at them in our wallet. And the second one is actually helping us to understand the importance of liquidity and kind of check ourselves if things don't make sense. And so I'll start with the latter and then go the other way. For me, if I'm going to buy a new NFT for my own personal wallet, right? A little bit different than our collection, but for my own personal wallet, I want to make sure that I have enough ETH that I could buy 3. And if I don't have enough ETH to buy 3, now I really have to question, is that one worth it? Because it's going to take up more than 1/3 of my liquidity, right? See what I'm doing there? So it's almost a little bit of a checks and balances on like, okay, should I buy it because I can't buy 3? Now, that doesn't mean I always buy 3 NFTs, but I have run into the mistake of not doing that, right? And you might be wondering, like, why 3? Well, there's a lot of people that kind of talk about the same strategy. And once I embraced it, it made a lot of sense. And I will say, I didn't embrace it early on. Like November and December, I didn't really operate this way. And, a couple of my favorite projects, Secret Superlative Society, Bubblegum Kids, Crypto Dads, and Crypto Chicks, I ended up, I bought like 2, maybe 2 on each of them. No, 1 on a lot of them, 2 on a couple of them, and then sold one of them and kept 1. But right now I'm kind of kicking myself for that, right? So the reason that I like to buy 3, and it's kind of, this is not anything that's like rocket science, is that I buy 3 and one of them I'm looking to sell for 3 times the mint price as quick as I can. Sometimes within an hour, sometimes within 24 hours. And I'll put it up there at like 3 times the mint price. So if I'm buying 3 at 0.7, I'm going to hopefully get like 0.21 or 0.24 around like that range for that first NFT. Oftentimes, it's before the reveal. I actually sell that one before the reveal. And what that does is it covers my total cost. And what's nice about that is now I'm playing with the other 2 ones where that money goes back into liquidity right away, right? Now, the other 2, I usually look and say, which of these is my favorite from an aesthetic perspective? But something I want you to realize is that oftentimes for me to be able to cover my basis, the most rare one of the 3 is the one I often have to sell first to cover my sales. Now that might sound a little bit backwards, but for me, it's allowed me to be a little bit more creative with these other 2 NFTs. So one of them, I'm gonna pick my favorite of the 2, and then I'm gonna look at the other one and I'm gonna make a decision kind of like along the way. Should I trade that one in or sell it to find a different art that I like or something that I think might actually have more longer term sale? And then maybe also, how does it differ than the one I have, right? If I have one that is super rare that has certain traits, I would love to get a different one. It doesn't have to be as rare, but with different traits, just in case one of those traits ends up being the trendy trait where people are wanting to buy it, right? And this is where aesthetic versus rarity comes in. Like, I think rarity is important early on, but I will tell you, it's a lot harder to sell a rare version of the NFT than it is the ones that aren't as rare, where you're not trying to get that much more above the floor. It's just because there are less people willing to pay that much more for the rare version. And so I have one that I'm trying to get back immediately, one that I'm going to be kind of strategic with, or if I need additional liquidity, I can sell it. And then one that I'm usually holding on to for the long term, even, hopefully, in some cases, I'll even take that third one and I will flip up, I'll sell these 2 to get a more rare one that I want, and I'll end up holding one of them at the end. And I kind of did that with the Women Rise project recently. I also did that with Alpha Girls recently as well. I'm trying to think. There's one other NFT project that I just did that with. I'm trying to think of which one that was. But really, it kind of works. It allows me some wiggle room, but also it allows me to kind of cover my bases. Now, not always can I sell that initial one for 3 times the amount of the 3. And you also have to remember, if you're buying 3 and it's a rug pull, it sucks 3 times more. If you're buying 3 and it isn't as successful as a project, it's going to hurt a little bit more, right? And so this also really makes you aware of where you're spending your money. I made the mistake early on of buying I'll just do one of this project, one of this project, one of this project. And I have a whole lot of across a whole lot of literally that's what ends up being in my collection versus ooh, you know what? I love this project so much. I'm going to buy 3 of them. And it kind of gives you a little bit of checks and balances. Now, this next 3, so this is the third of the 3 by 3 by 3, is the new projects by 3s. And what I mean by that is, for our Mint 365 project, right? I'm buying an NFT every single day. I'm researching new NFTs for future days. So right now, when we're done with this recording, I'm gonna finish our research for the projects that we're gonna buy on this upcoming Monday. What I noticed was some days there's 9 projects releasing that I really like. Other days there's 1 or 2. But what I noticed is if I try to do my research across 5 projects for that day, it's not as detailed, not as elaborate as if I really try to focus on 3. And so what I do now is when I look at the day or the week or even the month, I want to pick 3 projects to focus on. Now that also includes 3 communities to be very active in, right? I think it can be very overwhelming. Let's say you have 9 NFTs across 5 projects. You're well, how am I going to be active and have the time to be active in all of these projects? And we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace. But we also have to give ourselves a little bit of what I like to call swim lanes, right? These aren't rules. I hate rules. I am a rule violator. Sorry, mom and dad, high school teachers. I've never been great when someone tells me that these are the rules. But these are more like swim lanes, right? Where you can bob and weave down the pool and, maybe you're going to buy 4 projects or maybe you're going to buy 2, but at least we're going down the kind of that right same direction. And I will say I've adopted this idea where each week I kind of pick 3 projects that I'm going to be more active in their Discords and more active talking about them on social than I am any other project. And what that's allowed me to do is not feel as disconnected and shiny object, chasing, and also giving me a little bit more of a strategy feeling when I'm a part of these different communities. Now, with Mint 365, that can be a little bit more difficult because we're buying an NFT every single day. We haven't even bought today's NFT because I tried to get into one of the sneaker poster NFT drops that happened earlier today, and it sold out too fast. I wasn't able to I didn't put enough gas behind it, and I should have known better, but it sold out. So now I have to wait. The next mint drop is at 7 p.m. that we were studying. So that's just kind of one of those, kind of methodologies. Now, I mentioned I'm going to give you a bonus 3, a third, the last one here. And that one is when you're analyzing and reverse engineering, right? That's where I like to play with data. I like to focus, the conversation in that direction. I think we have to limit how much we go back into our past NFT life and decide how we're going to evaluate things. Because, I did a daily podcast because I knew this space is changing so rapidly, but honestly, I didn't know how rapidly, right? The idea that when we started this podcast 3 months ago, there wasn't such thing as whitelist chasing like it is right now. We also didn't have such a variety of expansion projects. We also didn't have the every project having a baby and a mutant and all of these other. So the space continues to evolve, but it also is important when you're kind of looking back at your decisions, right? And a great example for this is the Mechaverse, right? So Mechaverse NFT, I've mentioned them on the podcast. It's an NFT that I won the raffle opportunity, right? So there was 250,000 people in the raffle. Only 8,888 people got picked. I was one of them. And when I got picked, I immediately was like, I'm going to hold this to January because I want to learn what it's like to be in a very hyped up project, be in their Discord. I want to use this as a learning piece because I'm thinking about this long term. Now, over the next 3 weeks before the art reveal, I ended up getting an offer for over 8 ETH to sell that NFT. And it still is a massive amount of ETH, but I stuck to my guns and said, I'm going to keep it through January. Now, the project ran into some things that went on, and then it went to 4 and then down to 2 and then back up to 4. And then around the Christmas time, it kind of bottled down to like 0.5 ETH. And then it went up to like 1 and then 0.5. And so I could easily, and here's the cool part is I ended up selling my Mecca 3 days ago, which is funny. Hey, there's the rule of threes. And I ended up selling it for, I think, 1.94 ETH, I think is what it ended up going for. So I could easily go back 3 months and be like, man, I lost 7 ETH because I got an 8.6 ETH author. I lost 6.5 ETH. But there's 2 things there. First of all, as a poker player, the money that if it's still on the table is not yours at that point, right? It's not until you've actually taken it off the table is that money yours. So I don't look at like loss, losing 8.6. I decided for my own strategic reasons not to make that decision at that point, right? Makes sense. Now, when I look at that and I say like, let's look at instead of going back 3 months, let's limit it to going back 3 weeks. And 3 weeks might even be a little bit long in this space, but I will tell you, I almost sold my Mechaverse for 0.8 ETH about 4 weeks ago because the floor had bottomed out and it kind of crested at about 0.8. And so if I go back to look at that, I actually ended up making a 1 ETH, a great decision because I ended up selling it, just the other day for a lot more. But even in that scenario, like the reason I was going to sell it back then was that there was a project I really wanted to jump into and I just wanted to get liquid. So the reason I say all of that is it's really easy for us to judge ourselves or Monday morning quarterback or go back in there and say, man, if I would have not sold my alien friends on December 21st for 0.6 ETH and it just got sold for 5.5 ETH. Yes, that actually just happened. That happened. I just saw today that the alien friends I sold for 0.6 is now just sold for 5.5. But you know what? The times were different. My decisions at that point were different. And I just got to learn from them and move forward. So I try to only go back into like kind of that reverse engineering 3 weeks rather than, 3 months or even further back than that. So with that being said, that's my 3 by 3 by 3 by 3. So it's, understanding the 3 wallet system. It's understanding buying 3 NFTs, and understanding that kind of like that, barometer. It's understanding that you should only probably try to focus on 3 projects from a research perspective, also 3 projects from a hyper engagement perspective. And then of course, the little bonus 3x that I give you there is try not to go back too far into the well on how much something is worth. Now, as you guys know, the podcast is super powered by the ADHD coin on Rally. You guys can check it out at adhdcoin.com. And I love it that we're over 1,300 people supporting the coin right now. The more people that get the coin, the more value all of our coins go up. So if you are currently holding ADHD coin, you want to tell your friends and get more people involved because the more coins in circulation, the more value the coins have. And funny enough, because this is the rules of 3, if we go back a little bit more than 3 months back to Halloween, the ADHD coin itself was worth less than $3 at that point. And when we, just crossed into January, we, crossed the $10 mark, and we've kind of hovered between that $7 and $8 mark at this point. And so it's been a fun ride. You also get additional benefits and bonuses for those that are in the Discord. We're going to be also doing some things around NFT whitelists and giveaways for those that are holding ADHD coin. We also have the email newsletter. So many things that are coming that you're going to want to make sure to check that out. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for checking out the podcast. And as I said, do your own damn research, build your own strategy from this. But I hope what you can do is you can look back at each of those things and don't focus on like the 3 part of it. Focus more on why am I doing 3 wallets? Why did I decide only to focus on researching 3 projects? And then fit that into your cycle. Maybe when I said I'm only focusing on 3 projects a day, maybe it's 3 projects a month for you or 3 projects a quarter. hey, that's perfectly fine. We each have our own kind of risk versus reward and our own strategy and balance. But I just want you to kind of wrap your head around that kind of mentality and strategy. So with that being said, my friends, I hope you make it a great day. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I know we're leading up to the Super Bowl coming up. And if you're listening to this after the Super Bowl, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I could never root for the Bungles. But it is a pretty cool story with Joe Burrow. So I'll be tuning into the halftime show and that kind of thing. But until tomorrow, my friends, make it a good one. Cheers. All right, so for those that are watching the video side, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out, the podcast, the things that we kind of are sharing here. For me, this is more about like understanding that individual strategy and kind of having a different approach. So I would love, in the comments on the video, make sure you hit subscribe, whichever side of that is. And then also make sure, put in the comments, I'd love to hear which of these three of the 3x3s is your favorite? Like which one like really resonated and like opens your mind? And if you have a question that you want me to create a podcast episode about in the near future, just put that in the comments as well. Always look for taking feedback. And isn't this NFT pretty cool? This one that I love this one that I made this little GIF about, right? It's my 3 NFTs that I really like. They kind of morph into one. I made the jersey and then I put on the hat. So, having some fun. So many different opportunities for us to have strategy and build different things out of it when it comes to NFTs. So till tomorrow, cheers.